What's up, Net Soldiers? I'm the Alliance, and welcome back to another podcast. As you guys can hear, I'm still actually getting over my sickness. I've been sick the most I've ever been this year, so I'm just kind of, getting over that. Sorry. So if you hear my voice start to kind of sound weird or whatever, I apologize. I'm going to see if I can try to keep it sounding good, but I guess we'll see how this goes. I'm going to try, with most of my podcasts, like it usually goes, I'm doing this like unscripted. We're going straight Q&A questions throughout the entire episode. I asked you guys what type of questions you have for me regarding entertainment type stuff. So we're talking about Star Wars, we're talking Marvel, we're talking Lord of the Rings. We're just talking about pretty much any type of entertainment type of information. So this is probably how a lot of my podcasts are going to go. I'm going to see if I can maybe do like 2 a month, and we'll see how it goes. Usually, like, these videos aren't specifically meant for you just to sit there and watch me the entire time. I mean, you can watch my pretty face if you want, but that's not the reason why I'm actually making them. They're more for like a conversation piece, so you can have on the background while you're doing your chores or you're doing some schoolwork. You can pretty much just listen to this. So that's what the reason for these videos actually are. So thank you guys for liking them. If you want to see more, please let me know in the comments below, and maybe leave some suggestions for future topics we can cover. Now, with that said, guys, I'm not going to take too much time. Let us just jump right into the very first question here. Once again, apologize for the voice, but I do the best I can. All right, so first one is Spidey's Gaming, and he says, do you think there should be a TV show between episodes 1 and 2 for Star Wars? I think when people say we've gotten enough prequel content, I disagree, because even though we've gotten lots of prequel content between episode 2 and 3, we haven't gotten much from the time period before episode 1 and 2. Also, what's your favorite moment in any Lord of the Rings movies? Okay, so I into the Lord of the Rings one quick. My favorite moment is probably when Sam goes to save Frodo, and he's just slaughtering all the orcs. I think that's a really cool moment. So that said, let's get to the main question here. So what I'd like to see is something along the lines between episode 1 and 2. I guess I would like to see more, maybe Anakin's training, kind of seeing how like he and Obi-Wan interact before they were like friends, just to kind of see the more headbutting moments, as well as like the big brother type moments that we see from Obi-Wan in episode 2 more, that we don't really see in the Clone Wars as much. It's more of like they're buddies by that point, but I want to see more of like Obi-Wan kind of trying to be a father and failing to be it, and realizing, I want to see him get to the point where he realized like he's not Qui-Gon. I want to see that point. We kind of see that in the original 2003 cartoon, so I'd like to see that, because Obi-Wan tries to be like Qui-Gon for Anakin, and he realizes he just isn't him. So he can't try to be someone else, because that's not who he is. I think that'd be cool to kind of explore. And even if it was like a little, like maybe 10 episode animated movie, after the Clone Wars is over, that animation studio, they could work on other type of animated stuff. It doesn't even have to be like a 5 season long story. They could just do 10 episode like shorts on different spots in the universe. I think that'd be pretty cool to explore. So that's what I'd like to see, something along those lines. But yeah, I'd be okay with that. I don't necessarily need that, but I'd be okay with that. It'd be cool to see that. All right, next one we have from Menshur Madajic. Sorry. And he says, I also debate this with my cousin and brother, so I wanted to know your take on it. How would you rank all 3 Lord of the Rings movies? They say Return of the King, while I say The Two Towers. Okay, so the best of Lord of the Rings for me personally is Return of the King. I think it's so good. Like every aspect about it is just really, it's really interesting, as well as like I think it is the most it's the most fun out of them, I could say. I think maybe if I have one critique, I'd say Aragorn and their kind of exploration. That's kind of Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli kind of get taken out of the main plot for too long in the third film, but I understand why, because that's the story arc that Aragorn's going on, and by that point, after Helm's Deep, that's his story point, is to get that sword and to get the ghosts on their side. So that's kind of what his whole point is to. That's why he's kind of taken away from most of it. When I was younger, I liked The Two Towers because of the final fight at Helm's Deep. And I still like Helm's Deep, and I still like The Two Towers, but I would say probably if I was going to rank them in my favorites now, it would be the least best out of all of them. They're all great, but the least best is probably Two Towers, just because there's a lot of extra filler that it feels like. You can kind of, when I was younger I didn't notice it, but as I watch them now, you can notice the filler inside them, especially if you look at the extended editions. There's just there's less meat to the bones. You know what I mean? With the second film compared to the Fellowship and Return of the King. So I'd say the least best is Two Towers, and then Fellowship is the second best, and then Return of the King is the third is the best. But that's actually probably my favorite movie of all time too. I'll have to release a video on that. That's something that people have been asking for too. They've been wanting to know what my like top 20 like movies of all time is, and I keep forgetting to do that. So I'm gonna have to do that soon. I have it ready. I just haven't recorded it, so I have to do that. All right, next one we have from what's your favorite? Oh, this one's from Big Purr, and he says, "What's your favorite Star Wars media that isn't one of the movies?" Okay, so this one is interesting. I'd probably have to say one of the games, either Star Wars Jedi Knight Academy or the Old Republic games. I used to play those games for hours, and they were just so good. It's just weird that we can't make good Star Wars games like that. Now, I heard Fallen Order is actually pretty good, but I haven't tried it out yet, mostly because I'm just not a fan of, like, it looks like Dark Souls light, and I'm not a fan of that type of gameplay. So I'll have to try it out for myself eventually once it gets cheaper. I might wait for like the gold edition, you know, when all the DLCs and stuff are all collected, and I'll do like a playthrough on the channel. So for right now though, probably one of the older games. There was a book I read that covered like Count Dooku and Qui-Gon as kids. Like it covers Count Dooku as a kid, and then you go into the future, and then Qui-Gon's a kid, and that was a pretty good book, but I don't remember what it was called, but I like that one. All right, next one we have from Self Strike 7.5, and he says, "Do you think there should be a sequel to Star Wars Rebels? If so, what do you think it should be called?" Star Wars Resistance. Just kidding. So I haven't actually watched Resistance. I think it's an ugly art it's an art like. The art is so ugly. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I just can't get past that art. It's ugly to me. So I want to watch Resistance, but I also just can't look at it because it's ugly. So maybe if they change their art style to be more like, you know, Rebels / Clone Wars, I'd be cooler with that. But it is what it is. I mean, every show kind of has its own art style to it. You know, even Rebels looks kind of like the Clone Wars, but it is completely different at the same time, so that's cool. But this one's just like the shell shading. I just can't get over that art style. It's just not my thing. I heard that they're actually working on a sequel trilogy, or not a sequel trilogy, a sequel tri-season, so 3 seasons, so technically a trilogy, I guess you could say, but 3 seasons of Rebels, and now it's not actually going to be called Rebels, it's going to be called something else, but it's going to follow, you know, our characters looking for Ezra. And we might actually find out how Ahsoka dies. So that's pretty cool. I'll be looking forward to that. Now, that's just technically speculation for right now, but it's kind of been confirmed, so we'll have to wait till Star Wars Celebration. They'll probably announce all that stuff, and I'm guessing they'll announce that there. I don't know yet. Right now, they have Clone Wars coming out, so they have to focus on that, which I understand, but I guess we'll wait and see. I'd be cool with that. I'd like to know what happened with Ezra. I had a feeling we were gonna see Ezra in some shape or form in Episode 9, and his voice wasn't among all the voices. Now, apparently Kanan's was, and also Ahsoka's was. So theoretically, Kanan's gone, and all the other characters' voices we hear are gone. So Ahsoka died too, but Ezra's doesn't show up. So maybe something else happened with Ezra. So I'm hoping we eventually find out what happened with him. Okay, next one is from Ontaz Bulint. I still don't know how to say her name. I see you on my channel all the time, but I don't know the name, so I apologize for that. He says, "What do you think about the test footage of Star Wars Underground?" So for me, that was an interesting thing to see, because I remember George Lucas talking about Star Wars Underground, like back in like 2020, like back in 2008. And I remember thinking, like, me and my friends would be like, "Oh man, this is so cool. I can't wait for this. 50 episodes already written. Oh my God, I cannot wait." And then it never came. And then instead we got Clone Wars, and that was fine. It was just, by the time Clone Wars came out, I was already at the point in my life where, like, you know, I didn't really care about Star Wars. You know, I was looking for, that's when I started noticing chicks, you know what I mean? So, like, my head went to girls, and I completely just forgot about other things, and that was my life for a while. Now eventually I came back. I'm actually like, I think like season 3, midway through season 3 of the Clone Wars. As you guys, maybe if you watch my videos, I actually have all like, I'm doing all the Clone Wars explained, and I'm doing them in chronological order. So if you want to check those out, I'll leave links to those in the description below. But Underground looked pretty cool. It looked pretty promising, but I guess we'll see how that goes. Sorry, my phone went off. So, like I said, guys, this is my podcasts. There's no editing to them. You know what I mean? So if something messes up, if I mess up a word, it stays in, and that's just the way it is. Or if a train goes by, train stays in. So, yeah. All right, next one we have from the Nerd. And he says, if you could create a Star Wars film, what would it be about? What time period? What characters? So I kind of said this before in a couple videos in the past, but I would like the idea of a gritty Clone Wars movie where we follow, just a militia of troops, not necessarily clones, and we follow a couple Jedi as they first meet Grievous, and they get chased by a bunch of battle droids on this planet, and they have to get off of the planet, and that would be the movie. It'd be a very small scale story. It wouldn't be like massive superstructures or anything like that. Like we had to blow it up and you have to save the universe. It's not like that. It's legit just like people trying to survive, and in the end, only like one of the Jedi and one of the troopers get out. So I think that'd be really cool. I thought it'd be really cool to also pay homage to when Grievous first shows up in the animated series and crushes that Padawan, to introduce a Padawan into the story and then just kill him. Because it's one of the things where like you don't expect it. You see a kid in Star Wars, you think, oh, he's gonna make it, and then like he just gets killed by Grievous like that the first time we see him. So I think that would change the landscape of Star Wars movies, and it could be so gritty. It could be like a war, just violence without rated R, but it could still be a PG-13 movie, and I think it would be really, really good. So Disney, if you're watching this, call me up. I'll put a script together in a day, and we'll make some money together. All right, next one we have from Hello There, and he says, what do you think about Snoke? Okay, so this is an interesting question too, because personally, I'm okay with the idea with Snoke was made by Palpatine, mostly because I theorized it since 2015. I theorized that for a long time. It kind of brings the story full circle. I just kind of wish that Snoke, you can tell episode 7, pretty much the biggest problem is episode 7, 8, and 9 are 3 different stories that got combined into one big one. And there's so many elements to them that just don't make sense. And that's the issue with the entire trilogy. So I really don't necessarily have an issue with Snoke personally, because it's not Snoke's fault. It is the creators behind Star Wars not making a full cohesive story before filming these movies. So I guess that's all I have to say about that one. I like Snoke. Kind of wish he had more going on to him, but for what we got, he's still pretty scary. I just wish there was more to him. All right. Sorry, like I said, guys, I'm still getting over my sickness here. I'm actually feeling a lot better. It's just I have a lot of phlegm left, so like that's what's like making my voice sound like this. So I think by like tomorrow or even the next day, I should be like perfect. So let's just hope that actually happens. All right, next one we have from Hoodamic 3, Hooded Maniac 360. Sorry, I've seen him here before. Sorry again. Do you think the Black Widow movie will be good? I think it's going to be fine. I think a big thing about Endgame is Endgame ended in a way that made you go like, it made you feel complete. And we knew that the MCU was not going to stop after that, Hold on. Sorry. Anyways, we knew the MCU was not going to be complete necessarily. But I think it also ended in a way that made us go, like, I think her story was told. You know what I mean? Like, she wasn't necessarily anyone's favorite Avenger, but she was cool. And, but her story was ultimately told. I think this movie might be made just to kind of test the waters to see if we can go back in time after Endgame just to see how well it does. Here's the thing. Regardless of if you hate this movie or if you hate this movie, if you like this movie, if you think it's the worst movie in existence, it's gonna do great. It's gonna definitely hit over $500 million. because it's an MCU film and because, Scarlett Johansson's good looking. So that's it. And regardless if it's the worst movie out of the entire series, if it's worse than Iron Man 3 or Incredible Hulk, it's still going to be perceived as success, and they're going to replicate it. So I don't know what else we're going to see. Maybe we'll eventually go back in time and see more Captain America back in the past, or maybe even have like a Winter Soldier movie where it covers the different events he's been through where he was, an assassin. So that's actually a pretty interesting idea. But yeah. Okay, next one we have from Parker, and he says, 10 to 15 years from now, how do you think Daisy Ridley's performance as Rey will compare to other actors/actresses' performances from the previous Star Wars trilogies? So people don't like Daisy Ridley as Rey. Here's my whole thing. I think that Daisy Ridley, she's a good actress. I think she did the best with what she had, and she actually is my favorite character out of this trilogy. I think in episode 7 she was my favorite, I guess. And then although I had some gripes with some of her story elements, but for who Rey is, I like Rey. She's a firecracker. You know what I mean? Like she doesn't back down. I think that's a really cool message to send, and not just to send to little girls, but to send to everyone. Is the idea of, as we see in episode 8, one of the coolest moments for Rey is when she stands down against Snoke. Like she faces Snoke down, and Snoke is obviously far superior to her, and she's beaten. There's nothing she can do. Yet she doesn't back down. I think that is so cool. Like that is a really cool moment to kind of send. And yeah, it kind of adds to her like Mary Sue persona. But the whole thing is, sorry, my throat's still bothering me. It still adds to her Mary Sue persona. But I think personally that's one of the coolest elements about her is not the Mary Sue part, but the fact that she is so like headstrong, and it's a weird space to come from because a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and that's okay. That's just how I feel. But I think a lot of people are going to, as time goes on, Rey is going to be regarded as a better actress. I mean, even in the past, like in the prequel movies, everyone just kind of disliked everything about it because it was the prequels and original trilogy supremacists are everything's awful. But then eventually people like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor people talk about him like he's the reason why that whole series was carried so well. And I think that Rey could do that, Daisy Ridley. So for me, for my closing argument to this, I think that Daisy Ridley is fine what she did. I think that people will eventually recognize her as something better, especially in the future when they make episode 10, 11, and 12. So, which they will eventually do, probably in about 12 years. Came out of nowhere, I know, but I feel 12 years sounds right to me. Okay, now here's the thing though, we won't see episode 10 until 12 years, but we will see spin-off movies with these characters. I'm calling that one. Okay, next one is from Nicholas Trevino, and he says, should Disney redo the sequel trilogy? So here's my opinion. The sequel trilogy is done. Okay, that is set in stone. I think what Disney needs to do with Star Wars is to allow the canon to be expanded to different timelines. So then we can still see, they can still do another sequel trilogy. We could do an alternate 7, 8, 9 and still technically make it canon. It's just a different universe, I think we need to start doing more stuff like this, especially if we could do a Clone Wars series based off of my Order 66 video where Anakin doesn't turn to the dark side. I think it would be cool to kind of explore that idea of what if the Jedi didn't die? And we can see a whole series on what would happen because of that. And by the way, Disney, if you're watching this part 2, I'll help write that. I will write that for free. For sure, just give me a call. Email me on here. I'll write that for you. But we need to see more coming out of Star Wars that isn't so set in stone, because the truth is, you have the EU and you have Legends, which is technically the same thing now, but you have canon, right? Canon and Legends. That's what I should say. We have canon and we have Legends. And the thing about that is, technically, while Legends isn't canon, it still exists. So let's just introduce the idea that there is no Legends, there is no canon, there can be the main story, of course, but there can still be these other branching alternative universes that we can kind of explore and still call canon because they're kind of their own universe. So I think that'd be pretty cool to see. So that's just how I feel anyways. All right, next one's from Starkiller5555. Oh, this guy is a very, very good buddy of mine. Actually, he did an interview with me on his channel, so you guys want to check it out. I definitely recommend it. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. He says, what's your favorite video game? So my favorite video game of all time has to be Halo 3. I spent probably a full year of my life just playing that game. I'm not kidding. 365 days I probably buried in that game. Man, so many good memories. When that came out back in 2007, I didn't stop playing until 2010. I'm not kidding. You know, there were other games that came out, but that was the game. So, loved it. There's a lot of other good games too, like Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts 2 was one of my favorite ones. That was before actually Halo, and then also Gears of War 2 was always a really good one to me too. I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones. SWOTOR I played for hours and hours. I maxed out so many characters on that one. But yeah. Next one is World War Gamer, and he says, who is your favorite Star Wars character? And his is Anakin Skywalker. Okay, so for me, my favorite character is Qui-Gon Jinn. I just like his the way he presents himself. I think personally, not only is he like the first character in Star Wars I ever knew. Sorry. That one snuck up on me. Not only was he the first character in Star Wars I ever saw in a movie, of a Star Wars movie, and I just kind of, his green lightsaber, his long hair, he was just wise, that just spoke to me. So not only do I think he's a cool character, but he is the character that I would probably most be like. The way that he holds himself, the way he talks, the way he is just... He's just such a wise and gentle man. And but while he is wise and gentle, he also knows when he has to follow the rules. He knows that if the rules don't exactly go with what he believes personally, he's going to go against them. And that's how I am too. So, which isn't necessarily the best thing, but it's not the worst thing either. So I'm just going to be okay with that. Yeah. So Qui-Gon is definitely my first best, and then Anakin Episode 3 is always my second best. I would just think if Anakin had the morals of Qui-Gon, he would have definitely been the most powerful Jedi I'd ever lived. There's no question. Okay, next one is from Jacob Chalili, and he says, I always see that cat face with the glasses, and I know it's him. He says, do you think Obi-Wan will kill Grievous in Season 7? Okay, so this is an interesting question, too, because we've seen from the Clone Wars trailers that the Clone Wars Season 7 is going to take place before Episode 3 begins and in the middle of Episode 3 before the actual Order 66. Or actually, Order 66 is going to be announced, and that's when we'd see all this stuff go down. So, will we see Grievous die? I don't think so. I don't think we're going to actually see anything further with Obi-Wan escaping his clones, because that's kind of already been told. We will see Ahsoka's point of view. We might see another Jedi escaping Order 66, maybe like Quinlan Vos. We might see him. But as far as like the main events we see in the movies, I don't think we're going to see. So we won't see like Mace gets betrayed by Anakin. You know what I mean? We won't see Emperor and Mace fight. We won't see Obi-Wan and Anakin fight. I think Season 7 is probably going to end right when Obi-Wan arrives at Padme's apartment and tells her that Anakin turned to the dark side. I think that would be a very interesting concept, because right there would be like okay, so that's where that part comes in. That's why she's so sad, because, she knows something's up. She doesn't want to admit it to herself. And I think it'd be interesting to kind of explore that beginning part. So we'll probably see something along those lines. Maybe not, but that'd be pretty cool. Next one we have from Darth Primus, and he says, do you think we will see Dooku and Grievous in some shape or form in Clone Wars Season 7? Also, thoughts on Marvel Phase 4? Yeah, so we definitely will see... I think they're going to... I'd like to see this. I think they're going to redo the capture of Chancellor Palpatine, with Grievous taking him. And then, like the original 2005 episodes did that, but I'd like to actually see them do it again with the new animation. And in doing so, we'd see Dooku again, and Grievous. And then I think it'd be cool to kind of see the conversation between Dooku and Palpatine. In the novelization of Star Wars Episode 3, there's this conversation between Dooku and Palpatine before Obi-Wan and Anakin even get to them on the ship, on the Invisible Hand in Episode 3. And it's pretty much where Palpatine is like, hey, like, don't mess this up, Dooku. And Dooku is like, well, once we kill Obi-Wan and we turn Anakin, then we can, I'll let myself be captured, and then we'll take down the Separatists, and then you can pardon me, and we can, rule together. Where Palpatine actually plans on killing Count Dooku in the first place. So everything kind of goes according to plan to Count for Palpatine, but not for the Count. So it'd be cool to kind of see, that conversation actually come to light and really be expanded upon. And I think we're going to see that. And thoughts on Marvel Phase 4? I'm excited to see Tobey Maguire in episode and Doctor Strange 2. Doctor Strange 2 is going to mess the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe up. It's going to introduce all of our new characters. Not the movie itself is going to bring everything in, but it's going to break the universe and allow for other characters in the future. So that's going to be cool to see. At least that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. All right, so next we have Adrian Chavez, and he says, are you going to continue the What If the Jedi Survived Order 66 series? If so, when do you plan on bringing it back? Okay, so this is my most requested video in existence. I have to have thousands and thousands of comments of this, guys. Ever since I stopped about 2 years ago, I have gotten so many requests to bring it back. And the reason why I didn't bring it back is because I was writing my own book. And so a lot of my own narrative wants and, it's almost like when you go for a jog, you can only jog for so long before you get tired. So I would be writing my own book, my own story, and I'd get tired of writing. I don't want to write something else that, isn't that. So that was my issue. But because so many people have requested it, I'm planning on bringing it back in March at some point. I just need to be able, first off, feel better so I can actually do voiceovers. And second, I just need to finish up the script. I have the next chapter pretty much done. Just want to make it a little more, fill in some spots here and there, and it's going to be pretty interesting to kind of explore. So remember to like and subscribe for those if you guys have been waiting for that. Roller coaster movies. He says, do you think Kenobi should have been a series or a movie? Okay, so here's the thing. I'm okay with the series. I think The Mandalorian shows that series can be done right. A live-action Star Wars series can be done correctly. But I think I would have actually preferred a movie. Just because we don't necessarily need to see 8 episodes of Obi-Wan running around, losing his lightsaber most of the time, probably, because lightsabers solve everything right off the bat. I'm guessing that he's going to lose his lightsaber, and then the majority of the show episodes, he's not going to have it, so he's going to have to use his Force abilities, or he's just going to have to use his own wit, which is cool to see. But I really like lightsaber action, and Disney has been really afraid of lightsabers. I think because they're instant wins in stories, but they also are like, they're murder weapons. So I think they try to like not show them as much if they can. I don't know why they did that, but I'm almost certain he's going to get kind of his stuff's going to take it from him. Sorry again. So yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. All right. Next one is from Gary Jones. He says, I saw the Titanic recently at the theater for their flashback cinema. Oh, okay. I was really amazed by it. What are your thoughts on that film, Net, if you haven't seen it? Oh, I've seen the Titanic, and I will say that it's... When I was younger, I never really liked it. My mom loved it. I used to watch it with my mom. I never really understood it much. It's a really good tale. It's a really good story, and it's a good movie. I don't think it's as great as people talk about. Like, I've heard people say it's the best movie that's ever existed. I think that might be stretching a little bit, but I think it is a really good romantic tale and a good tragic story, as well as kind of like a warning towards humanity and how we look at something and we will make it the best thing ever, but we'll overlook something. And that's what happened with the Titanic. So it's an interesting story more than it is a movie, because while the main characters aren't real, they are placed into the story that is. It was a real story. So I think that's a pretty cool idea to kind of bring into it. It's a realistic nonfiction type of, or a realistic fiction, I should say. So yeah, it's a good movie. Next one we have from the Lego Dude, and he says, if you would have to eliminate 3 Star Wars movies, which would they be and why? Okay, so first off, I want to say the Star Wars: The Clone Wars movie. The movie itself is a good like TV show, but it's not meant to be a movie. You know, I just prefer to have those kind of just episodes in the Clone Wars series. Maybe that's just me, but that's just how I'd say for that one. Other Star Wars movie I would eliminate mostly, probably. While I like Solo, I feel like it's not needed, so I'd probably just take out that one, and then maybe episode. Well, I think people are expecting me to say episode 8, but considering the rest of the sequel trilogy, if I can't just take out all those movies and make them again, like I don't hate those movies. I just feel like if I was given the reins, I could make them better, and I think everyone would say that. I get that. Like every Star Wars YouTuber would probably say that. But I feel like I could have done better. So I would probably just get rid of all those movies and be able to make them. Now, this question is only who would I get rid of, not if I could remake them. So if I can remake them, I'd just get rid of 7, 8, 9 and remake them myself. But if I can't remake them, then I get rid of Solo. I get rid of Clone Wars. And then I guess I'd just probably get rid of Rogue One because while Episode 8 isn't... Episode 8 is kind of a betrayal to Star Wars. You need Episode 8 to really understand Episode 9. Well, not really. I guess you only really need Episode 8 to know that Luke and Snoke are dead. So, yeah. So, yeah, I'd probably just get rid of just Rogue One because it's technically unneeded too. I get rid of Solo and I get rid of the Clone Wars movies and just keep the main saga. So, unless I could remake them, then I'd take out the sequel trilogy and remake those myself. So next one we have from J Super 101. He says, what do you think of the new Disney Plus Marvel shows? Well, I haven't seen them yet because they did come out, but they look interesting and I'm excited. I want to see the Falcon and Winter Soldier just because the Captain America is my favorite superhero, so I would like to see what happens with that, with not just like the character of Captain America, not necessarily him, but to see like which one of them is going to win the shield. I know they're kind of pushing Falcon, but personally I don't know if there's been some like leaks recently where there's another Captain America that's been hired to be the new Cap, and I just don't know how well it's gonna go. I think he's gonna become like a bad guy or something. He'll become like that Hydra Cap from the comics. I don't know, so that'd be interesting. I like the shows. I like the idea of a show, but I kind of wish they would stay movies because now when I watch the MCU, I feel like I'll have to now watch the shows too, and that's okay, but I just like the idea of just movies. There they are. You know, you get this one done, you get this one done, you get this one done. You can go down the line. I like that. Now with the TV show, you got to watch the episodes too, and that's a whole extra like. I think if they're hour-long movies, I think they're hour-long episodes, right? So, yeah, instead of watching like a 2-hour movie just to get that full story, you now have to watch 8 extra hours, you know, or 6 extra hours on top of the 2 hours. So. I don't know, I guess we'll see how it goes. They haven't come out yet, so I can't judge them until they come out. So I kind of wish they're just movies, but we'll see. I'll definitely do reviews on all the episodes too, especially with the Clone Wars coming out. I'm going to be doing a review on every single one of those episodes, guys. So make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, so it looks like we have about 5 questions left. 4 questions left. Yes. Okay. So next one is from AlexanderWeStand, and he says, should Disney say screw it and make an episode 10, 11, or 12? Obviously, that won't happen, but would you be for it if they announced it, seeing as episodes 7, 8, and 9 seem to make the entire saga a little bit weird? Okay, so this is a good question too. Disney, if you want someone to write a cohesive 10, 11, and 12 for you, give me an email. Send me an email. I will write you a cohesive story. The most important part, and I said this in my one of my past videos, the best part of episode 7, 8, and 9 existing is that we'll never see a trilogy like it. That is the most important / best part of the entire trilogy, because regardless of if you like the trilogy or if you hate it, it's just not cohesive. It's not one full story. It's 2 different storytellers telling the story, beginning the story, and then giving it to another storyteller who then tells the second part of the story, which is kind of like his part 1, And then it's the first storyteller coming back and saying, well, that part doesn't actually really exist very much. A few things do, but most of it doesn't. And here are the things that kind of explain that part as well explaining part one. That's just, no, you don't write stories that way. That is dumb. You don't write your part one, your part two, and your part three of one big story. You don't do part one, give it to someone else to write part two, and then come back and write part three. You don't do that. No. When you write a full story, which would technically be 7, 8, and 9, is supposed to be one big story. You write all that together to make sure it's cohesive before you even go deeper into part one. That's what I did with my books. I'm writing my own trilogy of the Trojan War, my own adaptation of the story, and I wrote all 3 parts first. I wrote the entire trilogy, the outlines at least. I at least did the outline so it all makes sense. And then I went into each of those specific stories, and I really, added the meat and potatoes to it. So you have to at least have that whole cohesive outline before you do anything further. That was just dumb. So the thing about those movies existing, regardless, like I said, if you like them or hate them, we'll never see a trilogy like that again. So episode 10, 11, and 12 will be very cohesive once they do those in about 12 years, like I said. Like I said, Disney, if you want to call me up, email me. I keep saying that, but just let me know. I'll jump in and I'll take care of that for you. You don't have to pay me. I'll take care of that entire script and storyline. I'm not even kidding. Now, would I be excited if, let's say, they announce they're going to do it? Let's say tomorrow, I wake up and I see episode 10, 11, and 12 in production. I would still be excited because, first off, while my name wouldn't be on there, unfortunately, unless they need to call me. Like I said, email me, Disney. if it'd be cool to see something, just because I do love Star Wars. I'm not a massive fan of episode 8 and 9 and episode 7, 8, and 9. I'm not a massive fan of those, but I just love Star Wars. So, of course, I'd be excited. I just would be timid because while Disney should learn from episode 7, 8, and 9, I don't know if they actually will. They should. We definitely should never see a sequel trilogy like that, but they might. They might not learn from that. So, I don't know. The issue with big companies is that sometimes they put money over fans, and that's just not what you don't do that. And there you go. Next one is from Nicholas Murphy, and he says, "What type of movies do you think will come after The Rise of Skywalker?" Okay, so we're getting another movie in 2021. I think we're gonna get more shows because The Mandalorian really showed people that, or it showed Disney, of course. It showed them that people like the TV shows if you give them good content. And there's people out there, actually even part of me, that prefers Mandalorian over the trilogy that they spent way more money developing. So if they're going to get more money out of these TV shows, they're going to continue to push them. But it's not really that the fact that the sequel trilogy made less money because, fans don't know what they want. Or I should say the sequel trilogy made less money, but the sequel trilogy cost more to make in the first place than these other TV shows. And you have this recurring payment type of thing. When you go to a movie, you pay once, you watch the movie, and you leave, right? So that's like, let's say you take $10 a ticket. You pay $10, that's it. The owners of that movie get that $10. Well, they get a percentage of $10, but let's say they get that $10, and it gets split between the theaters. It gets split between budgeting, advertising, people working on the film. That's where that money goes to. But with a streaming service, you produce this TV show. You pay for the people to produce it, of course, and then once that's paid, that goes on your streaming service and it's on there. So now, if someone wants to watch that show, they have to sign up for a subscription service. And let's say you put another show up and another show up and you have extra content, people are just going to stick with that subscription service. So while you might charge $10 a ticket, in the theater, if you charge $8 a month as a subscription service, people are going to just keep that subscription service. And then, instead of releasing a movie every 2 years and only getting $10 every 2 years, you can release 2 or 3 shows every 2 years. And you now have, 8 times 24 months. You know what I mean? So that's that is more lucrative to go along that route. So I understand the reason for why they'd want to do that. I just hope that, like I said, they stick to what, not, you don't have to necessarily need to follow what the fans want, but the fans are the ones who pay your paycheck. You know what I mean? So give them what they want. You don't have to give in to the fans' demands, but don't be afraid to also let the fans love your stuff, because the fans, like I said, they pay your paycheck. So that's just the way it is. Okay, so I am excited for what comes after. The TV shows are going to be good. I'm excited for the Kenobi show, like I said earlier. And, of course, Clone Wars comes out in a couple days, so I'm excited for that, too. So I guess we'll see just how good everything kind of comes out. But if you look at The Mandalorian, that was great. I'm excited to see what happens next. So, yeah. Okay, now we have our 2 last questions here. This one is from Random Uploads 2017. He says, out of all other channels who upload Star Wars content, who is your favorite? Same with channels who do film reviews, etc. Okay, so Star Wars content channels. So who do I watch the most? It's interesting. So I have a couple different channels that I kind of watch for Star Wars. I watch a buddy of mine, actually, Star Wars Only. I watch him. He's got really good content. He covers a lot of like the more like gritty news when it comes to Star Wars. Ones that like not necessarily everyone would cover, but I think that's interesting because like if I look at a news story and I go, I don't really feel like reading this, he'll cover that for you, so you don't have to do that. So that's pretty cool. I guess, well, that's a pro. I'll give a critique for him too. Sometimes he talks about stuff that he probably shouldn't be talking about when it comes to like illegal substances. And I get it, like where he lives, I think it's legal where he lives. I actually don't know precisely. And I'm not trying to talk trash on him or anything like that. I'm personally against like any type of like substances like that. But it's okay if he does it, but I don't recommend that he tells other people to do it too. I think that's probably something that he should take it back from. Not saying that he goes out and goes, hey, you do this or I'll beat you up. He doesn't do stuff like that, but he kind of talks it up a little bit too much. I could see maybe some kids, getting kind of pulled into that, and since I'm against it, that's one of the negative parts of it. But he doesn't do it a lot, but occasionally it will come out in like some of his streams, and it's kind of like, back off that, man. Come on. So good content though when it comes to the Star Wars content, definitely. Just like morally speaking, good guy. I'd probably just tone down that if I could recommend anything for him. Star Wars, next person. Hello Greedo. He's probably the biggest Star Wars YouTuber I watch. He's very down to earth. Seems like a really nice guy. I actually bought his throne room on Star Wars: The Old Republic forum. It was a couple million credits, but I bought it for him, so that was good. I think I told him about it. We talked a little bit in the past. We talked about doing maybe a video at some point, but then we both got daughters and life stepped in the way, and it is what it is. One day I'll actually have to meet up with him. Maybe I'll see him at Star Wars Celebration, along with Star Wars Only. I might go. Still considering it, so I guess we'll wait and see. But he's got good stuff. He's just really down to earth when it comes to his telling of like his Star Wars opinions. Now, if I have to give him a con, in the past, it's not really like the more recent stuff. He's kind of gotten better. In the past, he would be a little too like original trilogy supremacist. He's gotten better though, so that's good. But from what I remember, he used to be pretty rough against the prequels and stuff. But he's gotten better, so I don't really know if I can really critique him anywhere else, because I think he's definitely come into his own. So that's just it. So yeah. And now when it comes to film reviews, only like film reviewers I watch are probably like Chris Stuckman and Jeremy Johns, and that's not necessarily because like I watch a lot of reviewers. It's just they're like the two big guys, and personally I don't love them. I just will occasionally pop on their video and I'll watch them. Oh, you know what? How could I forget? My buddy Austin Burke. He is up and coming. He just hit 50K. He does movie reviews on everything. This dude is doing reviews like a year before the movie even comes out. I don't know how he's even doing it. He's got great stuff. If you guys want to check him out, I'll leave a link to him in the description below. Definitely one of the coolest guys I've ever met on YouTube. Yeah, he's flying up there. Pretty soon he'll be at he just hit 50K, and pretty soon he'll probably be at like 100K in like the next month. You know, like he's great. So definitely check him out if you can. And also, there's a guy named Adam Does Movies, and I've been watching him for years too. He's actually been featured on my channel with Austin Burke in a previous video I did maybe like 2 years ago. And he does a lot of movie reviews too. He puts a lot of work into his videos. So I definitely recommend checking him out. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. So there is that one. That question is answered. There you go. Okay, so now we get to our next big one here. Actually, this is our last one. And it is still a big one because it technically goes with the question I had from before the last question. So this one is from Antas Bulent, and he says, are you looking positively or with worry to the future of Star Wars? What do you think about the rumored High Republic saga? Yes, I actually wanted to answer this one right after the question before this one, but I forgot to do that. So here we are. So I think that Disney is learning. They're learning to walk with Star Wars. I think they're doing pretty decent with it now with the Mandalorian release. I think episode 7 through 9 was a big burden for them to pick up, and if the Mandalorian is any inclusion to what might actually happen in the future, I think it looks good, and I'm excited to see what happens next. Now, when it comes to the High Republic saga, I don't know if that's the one that Rian Johnson is rumored to be doing. Sorry, my voice is getting worse as this video goes on. I probably shouldn't have done this video because my voice is still not 100%. But we're here, so let's continue. The High Republic saga is supposed to take place like 400 years before the Phantom Menace, I heard. Now, that's just a rumor, technically, but I guess we'll see if that actually is true. I'm excited for it, though. I'm excited to see what happens. It's going to be cool to see a younger Yoda. We might actually find out how Yoda gets into the Jedi Academy in the first place. And we could actually see the remnants of like maybe Plagueis. We don't actually have to see him specifically, but we could see maybe the person who trained Plagueis himself, or maybe Plagueis is 400 years old. It'd be cool to kind of just explore that area where the Sith are rising. You know what I mean? Because there is a point, like Palpatine technically was still in secret, but there was a point before him where the Sith actually kind of came back. So let's see where they come back. And this would be an interesting concept to explore, the High Republic. So yeah. But there you go, guys. That is my Q&A number 3. This is the third Q&A podcast I've done so far. If you guys want to see more of these, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn notifications. And yeah. And also, like I said, leave topics in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. I know this video is probably sounding a little rough near the end here, but I'm still sick. But I soldiered through. So thank you guys for watching. Yeah, I guess that's it. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.